continue our day, and I give the floor to Volodymyr Polevyj, who is the deputy head of the Information and Analytical Center of the Council for National Defense and Security, with the latest from the zone of anti-terrorist operation. Good afternoon. The situation on the territory of Donetsk and Luhansk region remains complicated. The bandit formations DNR and LNR and the armed forces of the Russian Federation are engaged in active combat, trying to extend the zone of the conflict and enlarge the territory they control. In all the directions of the anti-terrorist operation zone, the terrorists have more than once shelled the positions of Ukrainian military from artillery, mortars, grenade launchers, tanks, and multiple rocket launchers Gride. In particular, fierce combat is going on next to the village of Sanzharivka in Donetsk region. The gunmen have attacked the platoon stronghold of the Ukrainian armed forces, having shelled it from Grad 6 times. Because of numerous shellings, at the moment the passing of through the control point Gnutovo is suspended. Also, the road checkpoint Stanichno-Luhanske is closed. Next to it, the automobile bridge is damaged. Over the last 24 hours, 7 Ukrainian military were killed, 25 were wounded. According to reconnaissance information, the leaders of the illegal armed formations stamp the ID of Ukrainian citizens with stamps of the so-called DNR and LNR. We remind you that any illegal stamps in documents make them illegal. According to intelligence, the actions of the Russian military aircraft became more active next to the border of Ukraine. Transport Il-76 planes are landing at the military aerodrome in the city of Rostov-on-Don. The Russian Federation increases the battle potential of its aircraft forces on the territory of the occupied Crimea, using the airfield network of the armed forces of Ukraine. They also enlarge the system of basement of strike of attack aircraft. The Russian commando units are reinforced with helicopters Mi-24 and transport planes Il-76. At the beginning of January, up to 50 Russian helicopter gunships were located on the military airfield next to Jankoy. Within the naval aviation of the Black Sea Navy of the Russian Federation, the regiment of drones has been formed, and the naval aviation of the Black Sea Fleet continues its training and combat flights with the launch of reactive projectiles at the testing grounds of Puk on Kerch Peninsula. Because of the unfolding of Russian aggression against Ukraine and the terrorist act in Mariupol yesterday, under the chairmanship of the President of Ukraine, an extraordinary sitting of the Council for National Defense and Security was held. Petro Poroshenko said that Ukraine has irrefutable proof of the support by terrorists in Donbass by the Russian Federation and its abetting in terrorist act in Mariupol on the 24th of January. The Council for National Defense and Security adopted a number of measures to counteract the Russian threat and the support of terrorism on the territory of Ukraine. Among the decisions is the State Military Commission for the provision of the armed forces of Ukraine, the National Guards and other military formation with the new arms and military machinery. Also, the sanctions on the territory of Ukraine introduced by the European Union and USA and the address to the Hague Tribunal. The authorities and military command in Mariupol apply efforts to defend the city and help peaceful residents. In order to help the citizens, there's a operative headquarters and 2 warming up points that are provided with foodstuff, medicines, and first necessity commodities. The law enforcers are patrolling round the clock the Ordzhonikidze district of Mariupol. Also, a working group of the Ministry for Social Policy went to Mariupol yesterday, and the experts of the ministry have to urgently solve the issues about the organization and provision of local population with the necessary support. The world supports Ukraine and unites against the Russian aggressor, condemning the terrorist act in Mariupol. The State Secretary of the USA, John Kerry, while talking on the phone to the Minister for Foreign Affairs of Russia, Lavrov, condemned the shelling by separatists of Mariupol and also their other attacks that brutally violate the Minsk agreements. John Kerry emphasized that if such attacks continue, the price for such actions for Russia will rise. The President of Estonia, Toomas Hendrik Ilves, called upon the EU to strengthen the sanctions against Russia because of the events in Mariupol. We should confirm our unity and decisive intentions in bridling the aggressor, which means the new economic sanctions. Last Saturday, 3 defenders of Donetsk airport were released from captivity of the DNR band formation. They are Sergei Boyko, Volodymyr Prydyuk, and Dmytro Kostetsky. The release of the Ukrainian military was reached with the help of the Center for the Liberation of Prisoners of War by the Armed Forces of Ukraine. In the city Krasny Liman, during the search at the forester's house, the law enforcers have found a grenade launcher, 6 hand grenades, and 721 rounds of ammunition for different arms. Yesterday, in the city of Shasty, Luhansk region, the repair brigades have restored electricity, gas, and water supplies. As of the 25th of January, 320 flats remain without heating in Shasta. At the moment, the Ministry for Regional Development monitors the functioning of the system of supply in the city round the clock. Yesterday, the officers of the Group of Civil and Military Cooperation of the Armed Forces of Ukraine helped to evacuate children from the village of Trochizbenka in Luhansk region that the terrorists have been shelling regularly from Grad, multiple rocket launchers and mortars over the recent days. For the last 2 days, 2 kids, a 10-year-old girl and 11-year-old boy, together with their mother, spent most of the time in the cellar of their half-ruined house. This family was placed in a boarding school and they were given foodstuff. There's a rotation going on. On the 24th of January, Saturday, the Cherkasy residents met 70 fighters of the armed forces who came back from the anti-terrorist operation zone within the framework of rotation. The fighters were protecting Ukrainian state border and fought the subversive groups. At the same time, the fighters of the Special Battalion Chernihiv went to the anti-terrorist operation zone. They will replace their brothers in arms in Stanitsa Luhanska, where they will protect the borders of Ukraine, as there's only 7 kilometers to the border with Russia from this settlement. In the road checkpoint Novi Yarylivich in Chernihiv region, 2 lorries with humanitarian cargo crossed the Ukrainian border, and they brought from Estonia and Latvia tents, heaters, air conditioners, electric generators, and blankets for residents of the east regions of Ukraine. Another lorry went through the Rava-Ruska crossing point in Lviv region. It was carrying the medical equipment from the Organization of Ukrainian Women in London. Any questions, please?
Please don't forget to introduce yourselves, and please wait unless I give you the microphone. Information Agency Austria. What is the situation in Popasna now? The militants informed that government forces left this settlement, and also would you inform about situation in Debaltseva, that again they are beleaguering their ATO forces? Thank you for the question. Situation on Bakhmutevska Trasa remains stably in stable tension. First, the militants have to bring under their control checkpoint number 29 and Krymsky village, which remain under Ukrainian control. As for Popasna, I mentioned that in Sanjarivka village, the fierce fighting and combats continue. This is the left flank of our positions there near Popasna. Svoboda radio station. What measures and arrangements are undertaken to decrease the risks of the further shelling of Mariupol? Thank you. As it was already informed, there are 3 defense lines built up around Mariupol. Of course, it's clear that this cannot prevent Mariupol from a long-range artillery shelling, and this also means that political decision about withdrawal of heavy artillery from the contact line is needed. That's why Ukrainian authorities continue their negotiations on the subject. Anna Boka, TSN. Whether there is any information about support of Ukrainian servicemen near Debaltseva, because there is the threat of enclosure. The situation in the entire front line remains under control of the military command and under the control of the country leadership. The situation near Debaltseva is under control. My own brother is near Debaltseva. The situation is complicated, but it's not threatening, and it's not that dangerous. What are the situation in the Donetsk airport, and what are the figures of losses during last days in Donetsk airport? As it was already announced, Donetsk airport partially is under control of our servicemen. The front line crosses the airport territory. Both new and old terminals are ruined, and our servicemen remains near the runway, near the tower. About losses, unfortunately, I cannot provide you with generalized information for the week because we informed about losses every day. I will provide you with this information by email. What happened to Colonel Lysenko? Why he is not here? Colonel Lysenko is okay. Each person could be tired. Recently, he provided wrong information about Krasny Partisan settlement. He mentioned something about gray zone, but actually there were servicemen who were imprisoned and caught by the enemy. Why we have lost this territory? In the regions of the main attacks, Russian and terrorist troops, Ukrainian forces apply the tactics of strong defense, which means that we can send our adversary groups to make adversary actions to the enemy. And actually, we cannot say it every moment under whose control the settlement is. Thank you very much for your information. The next briefing